Welcome back to Dark Academia, Queen. Um, I don't even know what episode this is. I want to say 15, maybe? Um, but anyway, if you're new here, hit that like button, ring that bell for notifications. Also, please comment, something you like me to talk about next, as well. Uh, I do have sister podcast, True Crime Lounge, Just a Breezy Chat, and Sassy Southern Belle. If that's something you're into. Um, but with that being said, why don't we dive into today's episode? Today we're going to talk about the McRaven House. It is in Vicksburg, Mississippi, and it is one of the most haunted places in the U.S. If you're into both history and the Civil War and have an interest in paranormal activity, then this is the place for you to go and visit. It is even said to be one of the creepiest places in Mississippi. In 1797, it served as the home as a Confederate field officer during the Civil War and is also believed to have been the place a former many residents died. And there are also haunted tours that have led to costume guys who explain the house of the home and the stories of many spirits that are rumored to inhabit the property. Now, what do we know about Vicksburg? I know I went through Vicksburg on my way to Houston. No, it was on my way back from Houston because we had gone a different way through Mississippi. Instead of going through Houston. But Vicksburg is a historic city in the state of Mississippi and is located on a bluff in the east bank of the Mississippi across from Louisiana. It was built by French colonists in 1710, and the outpost withstood any attack from the native Natchez. In 1825, it was incorporated as Vicksburg after a Methodist missionary knew it Vic. The area was also long occupied by the Natchez as part of the historical territory. The first Europeans who settled the area were French colonists who built Fort St. Pierre in 1719, and the fort was built on high bluffs overlooking the Yazoo River at present-day Redwood. Um, they also conducted trading with the Natchez and others and started plantations. It was during the Civil War that it was a key Confederate river port, and in July 1863, they would surrender to Grant, and the concurrent Battle of Gettysburg River port marked it as a turning point of the war. And after the war, Reconstruction and then violent return to power in the white supremacist and Democratic Party in 1874 and 1875, along with the Vicksburg massacre. Today, the Vicksburg's population is majority African American, and the city is home to three large installations in the United States Army Corps of Engineers, which has often been involved in a local flood control. Now, what do we know about the McRaven House? Well, it was built circa 1797 by Andrew Glass in a town called Walnut Hills, which is now Vicksburg. In the Civil War era, it was known as Bob House, and it is listed on the National Register of Historic Places as such. McRaven also got its current name from the street it was on, which was formerly called McRaven Street, but it's now Harrison Street. And McRaven has been on Mississippi's Department of Archives and History's Historic Preservation since January 8, 1978, and is believed by many to be haunted and has been called the most haunted house in Mississippi. Could you stay there? Hmm. So, the first part of what is now McRaven was built by Andrew Glass and was originally serving as a way station for pioneers en route to Nashville, along with the Natchez Trace to the Mississippi. At first built, McRaven consisted of only a kitchen with one room above it, and this part of the house is now known as Section. In 1936, Sheriff Stephen Howard, the house added to a mill dining room and a bedroom above, and it was an Empire architectural style. Now, Sheriff Howard's wife, Mary Elizabeth Howard, died during childbirth in late August 1836 in the middle bedroom. The home was purchased by John H. Bobb in 1849, and he built the rest of the house in a Greek Revival style. And during the Civil War 1863 siege of Vicksburg, McRaven was used for a Confederate field hospital and campsite. Since it is located so close to the railroad, a major point in the battle, The house was battered by cannon blast from both the Union and Confederate forces, yet it is still standing. On May 18, 1864, after Vicksburg fell to the Union forces, John Bob noticed a group of six drunken Union occupations soldiers picking flowers from his garden. In outrage, he promptly ordered them to leave immediately. The soldiers cursed at him and refused to leave, so John picked up the brick, threw it at them, knocking the sergeant to the ground. They left, vowing to burn the house down. Bob then reported the incident to the federal commander of Vicksburg, General Henry W. Slocum, who dismissively said that he would admonish those responsible. Upon returning to the gates of the house, he was met by 25 Union troops who took him to South Bayou, about 100 yards from the house, and fatally shot him back to the face. To the, fa- to the back and face. His death was the first recorded act of violence perpetrated by Union troops after the siege, and John's widow, Selina Bobb, sold the house to the realtor in 1869, and the family moved to a plantation outside New Orleans called Sunnyside. McRaven was eventually sold to William Murray in 1882, and Murray and his wife Ellen Flynn raised four daughters and three sons in McRaven. William died in the house in 1911, and his wife died in 1921. Their daughter died in 1946, and the son died in 1950, all in McRaven. From this point on, William's daughters Anne and Ella Murray, both unmarried, lived alone in the house. Um, with no modern conveniences and a phone and no contact to the outside world except their doctors, Walter Johnston. In 1960, Ella Murray died at the age of 81, and her sister Annie sold the house after moving to a nursing home. And at this point, the house was in such disrepair that the neighbors and the residents, that nearby residents, had no idea it existed. In the upper story of the completely overgrown ravines, and the sisters had resorted to chopping the antique furniture for woods. In 1960, McRaven was purchased by O.E. Bradway, um, and with cosmetic restoration, it was reopened for touring in 1961. The house was placed on the National Register for Historic Places July 8, 1979. Later that year, Bradway sold McRaven with some of the furnishings to Charles and Sandra Harvey for $75,000. After the spring pilgrimage, the Harveys closed the house and took in year-long restoration cost of $100,000. And the restoration would include things such as woodwork, rewiring, plumbing, and plastering. And a master at plaster restorations, Mr. Little of Jackson took on the extraordinary task of plastering all the walls and ceilings, restoring the Greek of Bibles, cornices, and ceiling medallions. Having samples of the original carpet from the John Bob era, and Mrs. Harvey was able to find a company in Georgia to reproduce the carpet in the parlor. Now, front entry and stairwell, and upstairs in the bedroom. She also did extensive research onto each period of the house and have an authentic paint, wallpaper, fabrics, and furnishings for the public. The front and rear porch were in disrepair as been roped off by Bradway. Lincoln Brown, with the Waterway Experiment Station, rebuilt both the front and rear porches, and while the attic, Mrs. Harvey discovered many rafters have been damaged from the Union shelling and need repair. The 1840 Privy, which was purchased by Bradway from the Vicks home, was also repaired. Once again, ready for touring, the Vicksburg Sunday Post featured the McRaven Spring Pilgrimage open house in the April 6, 1980 issue. McRaven had returned to authentic glory, and though the Harveys and their children never lived in the house, they spent many nights in the Howards' bedroom, protecting the home from vandals. In 1984, the Harveys were moved to Natchez and sold McRaven to Leland French for $275,000. Now, in 1984, Leland French purchased the McRaven home and did further restoration. French was the first owner since the Murrays to reside in the home. Aside from the modern kitchen and bathroom in its basement, McRaven had remained largely unchanged since the 19th century. For this reason, it was featured on the July 1963 issue of National Geographic magazine, and it was called the Time Castle of the South. Now, what are some notable guest tours? Well, among the tours was the visitors of the McRaven was Max Baer Jr. and Irene Ryan, who also toured the home in the mid 1960s with an autograph photo of them that hangs in the foyer for McRaven. Is this what about the television? Where the house is featured on Ghost Adventures called Ghost in Vicksburg, McRaven Mansion, and also a team of paranormal explorers explored the home in this ground and was used as the Confederate campsite during the Civil War, and they investigated the reports an aggressive ghost of Andrew Glass, a highwayman who was murdered by his jealous ex-wife. All right, that's it for this episode. I will see y'all next time. Y'all have a great day.